should be. I think this will probably not be a
Yeah, a lot of saves.
Good. How you doing? Good. DSA is representing tonight.
yeah, right there.
Got a full report. Computers, everything. Are you doing manual notes or what are you?
Well, we're broadcasting it.
Yeah.
I'm taking notes by hand.
By hand. Okay.
I'm monitoring the chat. They're recording it.
Awesome. Yeah. How are y'all doing?
All right. How are we doing?
Yeah. All right. A little tired. But, you know, it's okay. Yeah. Do you have any like summer things that are nice?
You what?
Any summer things that are nice?
No, I might go on the sea breeze. That kind of
Sure. Sounds good.
the end of the month. So
Great.
that's about the most exciting my life gets.
Okay, got it, guys. I didn't know that about you.
I've done Adirondack.
Great.
How about yourself?
I likely have a Minneapolis trip in Chicago, but I haven't actually
That's home
planned it
for you.
yet. No, it's not. I grew up in but I moved from Minneapolis. So
Okay.
I was there for 5
I
years.
thought it had played somewhere.
Yeah, I was there for a chunk of time.
What are the two different screens?
This one on the left is like the preview scene. And then if I transition over, that is the live program. Just so you can see what you're doing before it goes live. And like the two transitions. Fade, 300 millisecond fade. Probably do that. Look at this. It won't do anything because they're both the same, but it's in the crossfade area, so you can control it manually.
Okay.
I'm not sure exactly. But then if I,
Yeah.
oh, I see.
Oh, and it
It
sticks.
just sticks, yeah. Now we know. A lot of times with stuff like this, it's literally just trial and error. That's also, at least for me, it's also been hard for me to sit down
Please take your seats. Please take your seats.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our joint public hearings regarding the City and School District 2024-25 budgets and our Speak to Council session. We are joined tonight by members of the Rochester City School District Board of Education. The meeting will come to order, and I ask Clerk Washington to call the roll of both City Council and the Board of Education.
Councilmember Booker. Here. Councilmember Knight. Present. Councilmember Lupian. Yes. Councilmember Martin. Here. Councilmember Monroe. Here. Councilmember Patterson. Here. Councilmember Smith. Here. Vice President Harris. Here. President Melendez.
Here.
And the school boards. Commissioner and Board President Cynthia Elliott. Here. Commissioner and Vice President Stephen Brown. Commissioner Jackie Griffin. Commissioner Amy Malloy. Commissioner James Patterson. Commissioner Isaiah Santiago. Commissioner Camille Simmons. And student rep David Williams.
All right. Well, before we begin, I would like to ask everyone tonight to join me in a moment of silence. We've had a series of challenges in the last couple weeks. We just had someone that was a victim to a fire, death in our community, as well as a string of violence in the last month or so. So I would like to ask everyone to remember those who have been lost and join me in a moment of silence. Thank you.
Vice President Harris, will you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Tonight we are holding public hearings for the pieces of legislation related to the 2024-25 budgets for the city and RCSD. Staff is assisting participants in signing up for the correct hearing outside of chambers, and the clerk will call names of the participants as they arrive. Participants will come up to the podium and have 3 minutes to comment. The hearings for each item will remain open until we have no speakers left.
I ask participants to be respectful and
Avoid the use of profanities. I will now turn it over to Clerk Washington.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be held on the following matter. Adoption of budget estimates for school purposes for the 2024-25 fiscal year and appropriation of sums set forth therein. Introductory number 254. 253. That's 254. What was that? 254. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard. Is Eamon Scanlon here?
Good evening. Hello?
There's a button on the microphone there.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Does that come through? All right. Good evening. My name is Eamon Scanlon. I'm the Director of Community Impact at the Children's Agenda. The Children's Agenda is a small nonprofit advocacy organization that partners with parents and caregivers in Rochester to improve the health, education, and well-being of children through policy change. We commend the City School District for investing heavily in mental health, resources for students, restorative practices to build a sense of community, and resolve interpersonal conflicts, and an increase in staffing to improve early literacy. Even though school closings and reopenings will present many challenges going into next school year, the transparency of the district leadership in rolling out these changes has been notable compared to other school closings in the past decade. The budget book is also much improved from the last 2 years with more detailed written information for each department and an object summary, something the Children's Agenda has requested for several years now. There is room for improvement as the position summaries should be broken down into a greater level of detail like the coding in the budget book from 2019 or earlier. Moving to mental health, one of our primary concerns, the 2022 Youth Risk Behavior Survey showed nearly 1 in 5 students at RCSD who filled out the survey were dealing with depression or emotional trauma from the death of a close family member or friend. Further, 11% of girls at RCSD reported attempting suicide in the past year. The district has committed to implementing telehealth in every school over the next 4 years. We support this change and would like to uplift it as a key priority. We also would like to see mental health clinics or school-based health clinics that offer mental health services in every school. Mental health and school climate go hand in hand. If students do not feel welcome at school and have trusting relationships with adults, they will remain unengaged from the school community. Suspension rates remain troublingly high at RCSD, with 22% of Black students suspended at least once last school year. The draft budget includes 14 ROC restorative coaches. We recommend increasing that number to 15. The district has also committed to funding help zones and alternative to suspension rooms in every school. This is the right approach, and we want to uplift that commitment. Students with special needs must be evaluated in a timely manner with the proper staffing and trainings to hold timely CSE meetings. The third annual report on the consent decree from February of this year showed 6.5% of Committee on Special Education meetings were overdue last year. That would require a 15% increase in efficiency or capacity for administering those meetings. Finally, chronic absenteeism at RCSD has reached 72% for high school students. We know from research on school closures that attendance goes down when schools are closed. Given the current state of chronic absenteeism and the huge disruption likely to be caused by reconfiguration, we believe attendance and school engagement should be given additional resources so students do not fall through the cracks. Thank you.
Hello? All right. Good evening. Thank you for listening. I'm a Rochester City School District veteran teacher. I've been teaching since 1996. I started at Marshall. If you don't remember Marshall, that's because it closed, for 16 years. And then I'm at the jewel of the city. I'm at Monroe High School. We've been through many superintendents. We've been through many budget issues. And many students are always affected. I coach sports, wrestling, baseball, and volleyball, and I coached at Leadership Academy, and when they heard that they were closing, the school, it just changes. Kids feel like it's one more thing that's given up on them. And they say, well, if I'm not gonna graduate from here, what's the point? Some of them came to Monroe, and I'm watching them graduate in a couple of weeks. And you know, we love our kids, and they are worth it. They are worth $1 billion. They're worth $2 billion. What I'm standing here to talk about is we need to do it right. I've been here 28 years. When I started complaining about how the administrators were doing things, I didn't continue to complain. I went and got a second master's so I can be an administrator. When my chance came to become an administrator, they said, oh, you have district leadership, but you don't have building leadership, so you cannot become an administrator. Fine, whatever. I think I would do a good job with kids, but since I could be a superintendent, but I can't be a community school leader, I said, okay. I continue to work with kids. The people furthest from the students that have the least contact make the biggest decisions that affect the students' lives and their daily education. It drives you crazy, but that's just the way it works. The further they are away from students, the bigger the decisions they make that affect the kids. I think the teachers really care. We care, the students, they care about their schools. Even if you don't see it in their face and first thing in the morning, they don't want to leave sometimes. And they know school is the best place to be. When they're home, nobody's coming knocking on their doors and telling them, hey, we're doing this today. So the budget, we're here about the budget, right? But that money has to be used right. We have to use it for the kids. We have to make everything meaningful for them. We will engage them. We will help them. Thank you.
Are there any other speakers for school district budget?
Seeing no additional speakers, that hearing is now adjourned.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: adoption of the budget estimates for municipal purposes for 2024-25 fiscal year, appropriation of funds set forth therein, and approving commercial revenue fees. Introductory number 253. Any person desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
Back again. Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm not going to say my name again, but I'm from the Children's Agenda. We review the city budget each year to make recommendations on the best use of city funds to support children locally. We applaud the efforts of the mayor and city council to uplift children in a myriad of ways throughout this budget. Tonight, we want to focus on a few key areas based on our understanding of children's needs, drawn from polling data and input from parent leaders that work with the Children's Agenda. Child poverty is the most pressing concern, with Rochester ranking 5th among largest cities with the highest rates of child poverty. Studies show growing up in poverty may impair brain development as a result of stress and deprivation. For children to truly thrive, we must remove these harmful barriers that poverty imposes on them. We applaud the city's efforts to design a children's savings account program with funding in the 24-25 budget. This program would give every child in Rochester a savings account with a small initial deposit to get them started. Children would then be eligible for bonuses based on equity concerns or for reaching certain milestones. There is a body of research showing that even small savings accounts of less than $500 for low-income students are associated with college completion rates 3 times higher than those with no savings. As the city develops the Children's Savings Account program, we recommend it starts at birth to have the most impact, just like other successful programs such as the Keystone Scholars in Pennsylvania. We also believe the program should be funded at a sufficient level to provide equity bonuses to all children living in poverty in Rochester, not just those living in certain zip codes. The cost of universal equity bonuses is marginal compared to the potential impact of the program. Though not included as part of the regular budget, the $25 million in anti-poverty funding coming from New York State is a great opportunity to build intergenerational wealth and could be used to expand the stock of affordable housing, as well as other great ideas that we would like to share. We ask that the process for distributing this money be transparent and rigorous, and we thank Vice President Harris for already reaching out to the Children's Agenda to solicit community feedback. We hope you will take a moment to read through our full report on the budget, which is available on our website, thechildrensagenda.org. We've also sent you all copies over email. A few quick additional recommendations: expanding upon the social emotional supports embedded in 4R centers by training all youth-facing staff in restorative practices. A lot of change is coming next year for city school students, and the district and cities should have a united approach to engaging youth as they navigate the multiple school closures and consolidations that are happening. Rochester should become a restorative city, making relationship building among youth through healing conversations a key strategy for improving mental health and lowering community violence. Finally, the long-discussed Northeast Library should finally become a priority and break ground. As the federal ARPA money runs out over the next 2 years, it will become increasingly more difficult to pursue large-scale capital projects. And those children deserve a library too. I'm done.
Hi, everybody. I probably won't need the 3 minutes on this one. The budget, I looked at it and I couldn't make heads or tails from it. For a lot of things, it says it was going to spend a certain amount, and it was the same amount as last year. For some reason, for me, I'm trying to find out what's going to happen with all the revenue from these reassessments that happened. And how could it just stay stagnant? How could it stay flat? So the reassessments, I feel like they were the reason that the budget increased or didn't increase. You'll hear from me later about the reassessments, and the budget, I believe, could have been made more clear. I don't know. I'm a pretty smart guy, but I couldn't figure out everything in the budget. And I looked at it and looked, and I don't know how you guys could do the hearing for like a week or 3 days on it. And I'm trying to look at the budget. I'm like, okay, this, that. It doesn't really go into detail. So I think a lot of people want to get involved, but they can't because they don't understand exactly everything that they're looking at. Thank you.
Are there any other speakers on the city's budget? Introductory number 253.
Seeing no additional speakers, that hearing is now.
Please state your name for the record.
I'm Clay Harris, and can't forget about me, President Miguel. Okay. So, the budget. I think that this budget needs to be voted down. I think it needs to be voted down because it is misleading. It has not had enough of a public response and hearings on it. It's intertwined with so many things that it's so complicated that even if you're educated with a master's degree, it takes you a long time to digest and analyze it. I don't think the mayor, the administration, and of course, you as city council folk should be representing the people, and you are not advocating enough for the people. I think you're going along to get along with the administration for various reasons. I think there is some conflict of interest with some of the city council folk that is clouding their judgment to make a sound, rational, analytical judgment for the people. I'm disappointed in that because when you are elected for the people, you must advocate for the people. And I have not seen that in this process, and it's wrong. I read an article a little while ago from WXXI, and it quoted Councilman Goober. To me, he was mocking the citizens of our phrases, to pause, to not vote for the budget. When constituents cry out and ask to be heard, you shouldn't mock them. You should listen. You have some very intelligent, well thought out, well-read citizens that could lend a lot of insight that many of you city council people have resisted to hear. Many of you came with us when we were doing certain things, and then when you met with the administration, you turned it back on us. Act like you didn't even know us. You didn't even want to have a conversation with your citizens to explain what you saw, what you heard. So I say this is a false budget. It's not a budget for the people. It's a budget for the rich and the developers and people who can afford homes, and these prices are astronomical and rents are astronomical. I submit to you today that have some nerve and vote no on this budget.
Budget.
Seeing no additional speakers, that hearing is now.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: local improvement ordinance, street cleaning, street and sidewalk snow removal, and hazardous sidewalk repair, commencing July 1st, 2024, and expiring June 30th, 2025. Introductory number 257. Any person desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
Seeing no speakers, that hearing is adjourned.
Pursuant to law, a public hearing will now be had on the following matter: confirming the assessments, amounts, and charges to be inserted in the annual tax rolls for the fiscal year commencing July 1st, 2024, and expiring June 30th, 2025. Introductory number 258. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
Don't all y'all come on at the same time. So listen, this reassessment, and hopefully I don't sound like a broken record to y'all, especially the 5 city council folk who have not came to hear what the people have been saying. This budget will be the collapse of the real estate market in Rochester, New York. It is disguised as though it's given a discount, a relief of 37%, down from 21 to 11. But it's really like a shell game. It's like a sleight of hand. Sure, this year is going to go down, but what's going to happen in the subsequent years, Michael? Next year, Miguel, the following year, Lachey, the following year, Mitch, the following year, Bridget, what's going to happen to the tax increase? It's going to increase proportionate to what you call market value, and I submit to you as I have, it's not really market value. It is manipulated by realtors, by brokers, by banks, and by assessment or appraisers to inflate prices astronomically. That's never been seen in Rochester in the history of the real estate market. And if you continue to sit in your decision-making seats and not understand the pain, the agony, the suffering that people, that your constituents are going through now, and if this budget is implemented with the assessment, in the future, you're going to have more people on the streets than you ever had before. You gotta listen, you gotta hear from the people. People can't pay their rent now. You could put a Band-Aid on it, President Miguel, but this is a gaping, gashing hole. Get a Band-Aid on to tell landlords don't evict. You gotta put a cap on these real estate prices and on these rents. That's the only way we will have a stable market again in Rochester, and we will not collapse like post-2008 when the whole financial market collapsed because of real estate prices. Come on with it. Period.
All right, here we go. Hi, I'm Dwight Robinson. I'm here to talk out against the reassessments, the whole process. Since December 5th, I went through the process, followed all the steps, started helping other people follow all the steps, and tried to fight an unfair reassessment on a property I just bought. It was assessed at $75,000, went up to $201,000, and it blew my mind. Now I just got another. They said, "Oh, your taxes aren't going to go up." But guess what? I got my insurance yesterday from Allstate, and they said, okay, you paid $584 a year last year. Now you have to pay $735. Them taxes didn't save me from that, because they said, look at that house now, it's $200,000. I guess you're gonna have to insure it for more. That's what happened. The process itself, we have 5 minutes to address everybody, the 3 board members and the 80-inch television with Zillow on it, and people that were adversarial. They were like, well, what we said is right and what you said is wrong. When you go to get the comps, there's all these dollar deals that aren't included in the equation, backroom deals done by LLCs and done by other entities. I understand if you're going to give your kids the house, yeah, you're going to charge them $1 for it. But if you're going to give your buddy the house and then get $100,000 later, that should be calculated in. We need to break down and see what are these deals whether it's a dollar deal between LLCs or a dollar deal between family. If you can't calculate $1 in and you're going to take a $300,000 2-bedroom house in account, you have to take the low with the high. You can't just say, well, that's too low, because you're not saying that's too high. And guess what? People's insurances are going to go up and their taxes are going to go up. Even if you say it's not going to go up, something's going to go up. Oh, what about Monroe County? Did they partake in that deal? Did they say, okay, if they're going to go from 17% to 11, let's do it too, because we'd like to get less money. What kind of crazy city is that where you want less money? You want less revenue. And then things that are generating revenue, you want to get rid of. I'm not even going to go into that, but I'll go into it later. Yeah, don't fall for it. Don't fall for it, people. Just because they say it's low doesn't mean it's low.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Majority of you know who I am. Now? Okay, now you can start my clock. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I guess you guys have heard what the people that voted you in office has been saying. And I'm scared to say the majority of you guys look like Republicans, the way you guys are moving stuff. This is supposed to be a democratic city, working for the people, helping the people, and it should be by the people, not you. There's no way on earth you can sit there and just close your eyes. But do you guys realize what y'all creating? Gentrification at its finest form. It's crazy. My taxes just went up, and I looked and said, if I decide to sell it, where the hell am I going to go? My insurance went up, like he said. Yes, it went up stupid. But this is what scares me the most. My sister, who's a city employee, losing her house behind the same thing we're talking about. And she works for the city, and she's losing her house because of you guys. What are you going to do for us? I mean, when is this going to end? The pain is getting worse. I walked down Main Street. I had a stroke in January. I'm here in front of you, and all my left side is hurting. Yes, Mike, I'm paying the price for 2020. I hope I live to see next year behind what I went through with the demonstration in 2020. But what I'm telling every one of you, get it right, because you're making me feel bad to being a civil rights child marching in Atlanta and Birmingham, a Black Panther Party member, working to get this thing right. Do you know I feel embarrassed just what happened? If I had to do this all over again, I would close shop. I guarantee you Martin Luther King would too, because I know him, and I know Malcolm X would definitely wouldn't even be out here trying to change things. We might as well just lock this thing up, let the LLCs put us back where they want us to be, poor and broke, and you guys got paychecks. We're getting laughed at. Seriously, I was in Albany not too long ago. Rochester is really a joke to them. We're being investigated. I just don't know how far up it's going to go. but they're looking at Rochester. I told it to county ledge the other night. And no sooner than I get done, they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. We got to become transparent people. We can't no longer keep our citizens crying out here. Because believe me, before I'm dead and gone, I'm going to make my statement, and it's going to be well known to all of us, because we're dying on these streets, and we're dying because of you all. I yield my... No, man. They owe me how much? Oh, I got 9 seconds. I would like everybody to have a moment I want to borrow my 9 seconds. I would like for everybody to have a moment of silence, really. They should have did this in the beginning. I would like for us to start praying for what's going on in the Middle East. Because one of these mornings, do anybody know what's happening in Cuba right now? Submarine, 3 of them in Cuba right now. I've seen it on CNN. We need to start worrying about what in the world is about to happen. So I would like to have, ladies and gentlemen, 30 seconds of prayer, silently. Clock.
Your time.
Give me 30 seconds for the prayer. We need silence because we're in trouble. We're not only here, the world.
Can you state your name for the record?
I thought I did. My name is Asa Adams.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Now, can we have 30 seconds of silence? Thank you.
Are there any other speakers on introductory number 258?
Seeing no additional speakers, that hearing is now adjourned. That concludes our public hearings on the budget specifically. I want to thank the teachers for joining us, as well as the Board of Education Commissioners. These items will be voted on at our June council meeting, which will be held here on Tuesday, June 18th at 6 p.m. New York State law requires that City Council hold public hearings as it considers specific legislative actions. The clerk will open each public hearing, and anyone wishing to comment on the relevant matter will come to the podium at that time. After public hearings conclude, speak to council will begin. So now let's begin this month's public hearings. Each speaker will be given 3 minutes at the podium, and the city clerk will lead us through each hearing. As a reminder, the council is here to listen to all matters, and it's customary that we do not respond. Clerk Washington, take it away.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be held on the following matter: adopting determinations and findings relating to the acquisition of land parcels and fee and temporary easements for street purposes relating to Bull's Head revitalization project. Introductory number 247. Any person desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
So I'm Tom Morris with the City Law Department to present on the findings for the eminent domain acquisition of properties in the Bull's Head revitalization project. Do we have well, an easel, yeah, that's what it is. So the purpose of this project is to realign the streets in the Bull's Head area. The city and the community has been developing a plan for through years of consultation to create a more livable neighborhood, more residential density with mixed uses that are compatible with the residential. And what has been determined with the street networks at Bull's Head, it's kind of an odd configuration, is that to have accommodate not just additional vehicular traffic of this development, but just as importantly, the hoped for additional pedestrian traffic, bicycle traffic, transit users, people with disabilities. Complete streets is really essential to this area. And so we've designed, our traffic engineers have designed a realignment of the streets to make safer some of the intersections that are very complex, to eliminate a lot of the very wide intersections where it's hard to cross in the time that the light provides, to provide more sidewalk space for pedestrians, to provide bicycle tracks, and make it a more walkable community. And as part of that, we will require some acquisitions of properties, very narrow strips of property that are all mapped out on what we're being shown on our easel. And I also have handouts for anyone that's interested. The acquisitions consist of actual taking a property permanently for sub-street and sidewalk right-of-ways, and some temporary easements for use of adjoining property during the construction process. They are very narrow strips of property because the realignment was done in a way that wouldn't require large takings of private properties. The larger takings of properties necessary to do the realignment is accommodated by the fact that they run through city-owned lots. And so the purpose of this hearing under the eminent domain procedure, may I have one more minute?
Have to be fair to everyone. No, sir. Thank you.
Are there any other speakers?
See no additional speakers. I think it's our turn.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be held on the following matter. Approving the 2024-25 annual action plan, introductory number 188. Any persons desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
Seeing no speakers, that hearing is now adjourned. Excuse me, what's the question? I'm sorry. Make sure someone from the staff checks in.
258 is the last we had.
Yeah, 258, I believe, was the last one for the budget. Double check.
There's a separate agenda for these items. It's over here.
Yes, there's an agenda separate for the public hearing.
Yep.
We can make sure that folks have a copy of that. Thank you. All right, if there are no speakers on 188, annual action plan, that hearing is now adjourned.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be held on the following matter. Authorizing substantial amendments to the 2017-18 and the 2022-23 annual action plan to transfer funds to demolition will now be heard.
So, Clay Harris, there has been a flawed policy that the city has had for decades. I spoke before City Council maybe 6 months ago, and it was because the mayor, the administration, and of course City Council was giving homeowners that needed work on their houses X amount of days, and if they didn't come with a plan to rehabilitate, the city was going to bulldoze those houses, and then the city would pay. Now, I spoke, and then I said, stop bulldozing houses. Y'all been doing that for decades. And you wonder why we have a housing shortage. People can't find a house or an apartment. The city had bulldozed thousands of apartments because they were multifamilies. Many of those homes, probably 80%, was rehabable. Now, going back to the homeownership, if the mayor and you city council members really want home ownership, why would you take a house from a poor person in particular who can't afford it and then bulldoze it when that's all they got? They just ain't got no money. Why won't you lend them the money at a low interest loan or give them a grant so they can keep that wealth? Everybody talking about building generational wealth. I think it's short-sighted for you guys to go along with the mayor and bulldoze everybody's houses because they can't pay it. Secondly, multifamilies. If you continue to bulldoze multifamilies, people looking for studios, 1 bedrooms, or 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms. If you continue to bulldoze them, then you're going to have even a tighter market in terms of the rental market. People ain't going to be able to find. Again, the escalation of rent is part and parcel with supply and demand. If you take the supply off and you still have demand, now these landlords are going to start gouging, and they are. Y'all need to look what these landlords are doing. You got houses that are still stable, 40, 50, 60, 70,000, but landlords, because of the market, now they're raising people's rent just because they can raise it. $300 or $400 at a time when they don't have that mortgage of the $100,000 or the $200,000. Y'all need to start doing your due diligence and look what's going on in the market and be for the people.
This speak right here? Good. Can you hear me? Mic's on. All right. All right. My name is Samson Demasi, and I'm not really speaking on the matter at hand as much so. I mean, in my position, I'm a college graduate who is currently homeless, right? Because of the current costs, right? And workforce is not exactly the easiest thing at this time. So you gotta help your people, and everything that everyone's saying. My thing is it's not even about what everyone's saying. It's not even about the information and like what's passing on. The fact that I'm sitting here and I'm observing, and not more than only twice have 5 to 6 of the members in front of me been paying attention to someone's words and what they're saying and how they're delivering it and the feelings that are coming through is disappointing. I was shaking because I was like frustrating. Because of the fact that like people are sitting here telling you about their lives and everyone is looking at it with their heads and not looking at it from their hearts. So all I'm asking is really to just remain sensitive and actually listen to what people are saying. You guys are in better positions than us. And at the same time, you also have your own struggles, which is understandable. But that don't mean you could just sit here and not pay attention. I appreciate y'all looking, because this is how you should treat everyone that's coming up here. I don't care how many times they come up. I don't care how many times you've seen them. Pay attention. Because once you start getting that, that's when it keeps getting even shittier. And I was down south for college. And you want to know what they know Rochester as? The place of the Kia Boys. They don't know it for none of the arts and culture. They don't know it for none of the great talent that's here and the potential that Rochester has for its people or the systems. So it all starts with just listening. So please just actively listen with your hearts and keep it open and stop using your heads. That's all.
Believe me, I'm getting tired of you guys as y'all getting tired of me. I have one question. What is the amount of this demolition fund is holding? Because you guys are about to get caught with your hand in the cookie jar too. What is the price tag? How much you got hidden money for this? And where is this money actually coming from to be taking these buildings down? I'm beginning to agree with Mr. Clay. I mean, we don't agree on certain things, but this is one time. If I was the mayor, this is the number one thing I would have done on my first week in office. I would have put this city on the lockdown on crime. But now we're in year number 3, 4. With these abandoned houses, we can actually help people do the same thing they did with the Western in 1848 when they gave all that land away to make poor people rich. You could do the same thing with people in the city with these abandoned houses, give them hope. Because you guys are the last line of defense. Yes. I don't know, but the last time I thought you guys did, not that mayor. Doing what y'all tell him to do, not in reverse. Because I know if I was the mayor, I would be listening to the people, not the business community. They're the ones that's hurting this city. Sister Grace brought it down once. We need to bring it back down again because she showed what was wrong with Rochester with the Cadillac Hotel with 80 people and $20,000 that was refused. And look how many people got their hands caught in the cookie jar. Look how many people got their lives destroyed. Look how many politicians couldn't run anymore. Think. Apparently it doesn't work anymore. Start thinking. Because you guys are not aware, but they're waking up slowly but surely. And one morning they're actually going to wake up and y'all not going to be here. You're going to have a coup on your hands. And I'm serious. I'm not going to be the one to lead it because the young folks have had enough. They're trying to tell us, people, something is wrong. Fix it. Because the future belongs to them, not us. That's right. I got more days behind me than I do in front of me. These children got more days in front of them than they do behind them. Change this pattern. Now.
Good evening, Council. Long time no see. Name's Oscar Brewer for the record. You know, I find it alarming standing in a city that I was born in 1979 that we're still having a conversation around tearing down housing. Make it make sense. We're tearing down housing. Number 5 Taylor Street, I rode by yesterday, is being demolished. What are you giving us back? All I see is take. And then we hear about crime going so bad in our city, right? What are you giving us back? What are you giving to 1 out of 10 students that are homeless in our city school district? I'm going through a personal struggle in my family where the woman I really care about is talking about leaving because there's nothing in Rochester. How many families does that represent, council members? The families that you are elected to serve, correct? But yet we're still having conversation about tearing down Bull's Head Plaza. What are you going to replace it with? Housing I can't afford? Housing you won't be able to afford? Let's keep it real. Housing that nobody in this room is going to be able to afford. So you're driving us out right? Tearing down what we built to give to the upper class. Is that who voted you in? Or is that who's supplying your campaign? Why are we tearing down instead of investing into the communities that you're elected to serve? You ask, knock on doors, hey, my name is so-and-so, I'm running for office, please vote for me. I'm gonna do this, that, and the other. Are you promising us or the investors? Because when you're tearing down what you're elected to save and to invest in for the people that voted you in, you're going for the investors, ladies and gentlemen, not your constituents. That's all I got to say. Give yourselves a round of applause for tearing down our city.
Are there any other speakers on introductory number 190?
Seeing no additional speakers, that hearing is now adjourned.
Pursuant to law, public hearing will now be had on the following matter: amending the official map to rename Major Charles Carroll Plaza, introductory number 216. Any person desiring to speak in reference to said matter will now be heard.
Seeing no speakers, that hearing is now adjourned. So this concludes our public hearings for June 2024. We will now begin our Speak to Council session. All speakers will be given 2 minutes at the podium. Speak to Council is a time for members of the public to comment on any and all matters relating to the city.
Sign-ups for this session closed at 4:30 p.m.
This afternoon. The list of speakers can be found at the back of the room and in the hallway. Speakers discussing legislation on this month's City Council agenda are placed on the A list. Speakers commenting on all other matters are placed on the B list. I do want to highlight that we may have some speaking order that might change just based on the A list being prioritized. There's a few that might have been inadvertently put on the B list, so if your name is called out of order, we apologize for that today. Under City Council rules, the city clerk will call city residents first. Since this is the Rochester City Council, and we've prioritized our citizens speaking to their elected representatives. As a reminder, the council is here to listen to all matters, and it is customary that we do not respond. We respectfully ask that each speaker offer council the same respect they would expect to receive in return. In doing so, please refrain from any profanity or other harmful language. Council members have contact information for all of tonight's speakers and may follow up on any concerns that pique your interest. City Clerk Washington will call each speaker to the podium. We ask that you respect the time of those waiting behind you and yield the podium at the end of your allotted time. Clerk Washington.
Let me apologize in advance if I don't get your name quite right. Lisa Coleman is from the South.
That's perfect. Hi, City Council. My name is Liesl Coleman. I am a renter in the Southwest. June 1st, I breathed a sigh of relief because that was the day by which my landlord would have had to notify me to raise my rent more than 5%. I don't know if he knows that, but it was a huge relief for those in my household because we weren't sure with rising prices whether or not we were going to experience a rent increase and whether or not we were going to get terminated, right? And these are the types of things that good cause eviction will help prevent. And I want to thank all of council for introducing introductory 251 and bringing the process of bringing good cause to Rochester. I really, really, genuinely am so excited to see this process moving forward. The catch is that the good cause would not protect me. My landlord only owns 2 units. As the law is written right now, with 10 or fewer units, my landlord would be exempt. If you've got 3 restaurants or 10 restaurants, you still have to get inspected by the health code. It doesn't really make sense that the size of your buildings or the amount of units you own is what determines whether or not you have to live up to basic health and safety regulations. So I want to say that all of these housing costs rising, the RG&E bill or the implementation study could help bring things together so people aren't getting gouged by their rent, getting gouged by the electricity, and getting gouged by what's going to come down after these assessments go through, right? Prices are going to go up for tenants, they're going to go up for landlords, and they're going to push those costs onto tenants because that's the way, unfortunately, our system works. So I'm asking you to move forward with a local implementation study for a public utility to go as quick as possible with getting good cause evictions into law, and please vote no on the assessments. Thank you.
Good evening, Maggie Kane, Voices of Verona Street. First, I want to thank President Melendez and VP Harris for meeting with Voiceless and our former sheltered vet, Dr. Barakis, that was last week over Zoom. I believe the info shared by the vet solidifies the issues we have been speaking to you about for 3 years. Thank you also to the City Council members asking solid and thoughtful questions to Dr. Green and the Mayor during the budget hearings. I have sent you the follow-up letter from the shelter vet along with 3 crucial attachments. I ask each of you to carefully read the Cornell School of Vet Medicine evaluation requested by Dr. Barakis, the former shelter vet. The focus is capacity for care and focus on the lack of enough staff to even do basic care of animals along with other duties. Yes, spaying and neuter is one of them because we don't have a shelter vet. I don't believe Dr. Green requested more animal care technicians in her budget request. The lack of staff hits you in the face as RAS is closed from today until June 20th due to a COVID outbreak with staff. No backup staff to help, volunteers overwhelmed, and the skeleton staff that is there busting their butt like they do every day, even more. If this is not an in-your-face reminder that our city shelter isn't capable of providing enough staff to attempt to meet basic needs, I'm not really sure what is. Let's be honest here. The city shelter for the past 20 years has been neglected by our community, not by the community, by the city and our mayor. It's time to think about either A, really doing something about the shelter, rebuilding it, doing a new shelter. Mayor Evans said it was a priority. So maybe his priority and your priority is to see if there is some other organization like Lollipop Farm to take over the shelter. Thank you.
From the Northeast District, is Alex here? David Sutton Alias is from the East District.
Dave Sutlefadius, I live on Kansas Street, and there's so many things to talk about tonight. I couldn't pick just one or two. So I think what I want to do is I want to spend this time and talk to you about the quality of legislation that comes out of City Council. For example, the good cause eviction legislation. Amazing, awesome, I was stunned. And as an anti-capitalist, it took me all of 3 seconds to figure out how the truck to drive through that loophole. I just start some LLCs. Each one has less than 10, bam, good cause eviction legislation. I just took care of that. I'm not even a landlord, I already figured that out. So I appreciate legislation that comes by, PAB, right? How you set it up, how you do it, really makes a difference. This public utility study, only if the county buys in. And now it's about to run out, now that $500,000 is sitting there, it's about maybe to go to something else. I mean, from the outside, kind of looks like the fix was in. And it's not like there were people telling you that we should just do it in the city anyway. Oh wait, there was. I was one of them, right? So there's some really good stuff there that comes through City Council, but how you do it. And if you, and I didn't plan on this, you'd think I did, but like all the people who have been talking so far, there have been people coming up here and telling you this for years of all of these things. Remember the cooperative businesses, City Council and the City Hall kind of dipped their toes into? That kind of faded away. We were here talking about that. It's how you do stuff. It doesn't matter what the name of the legislation is or how you trumpet it, But if people are here telling you, here are some problems with the legislation you're passing, and you don't do anything with it, and you just pass this anyway, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? Step aside, let somebody else do it. Thank you.
Robert McFarland here. He's from the East District, followed by Paul Watkins.
Hello. I was speaking, last time I was here, I was speaking on a very different issue, although all issues affect human beings. I was asked to stand in tonight for an organizer with the poor people, I call it poor working people's campaign, because so many millions, tens of millions of people in the United States are 2 or 3 paychecks away from total financial disaster. I was there myself after the bubble burst, the so-called bubble, the housing and mortgage scam, yet another scam where the wealthy escaped, in fact, made out like the bandits that they are. And millions of people lost their properties, their homes. And now that I'm a renter here in Rochester, I am at the mercy, as Liesl Coleman had said, of the property owner. I don't use the word landlord. To me, that's feudalism. This is not a feudal society, or maybe it is. I'm at the mercy of the property owner who happens to own 3 houses, and I think there are 6 units. So she is exempt. Fortunately, she's been a good human being and only raised the rent each time the lease came up by 3%. That ought to be the law throughout New York State, certainly in this city. And if that loophole that David Ateas is talking about, yeah, you could drive a truck through that. If you have less than 10 units, you're absolved from that. That's nonsense. And fund the feasibility study already. Come on. It's a study about feasibility, because when my electric bill goes up, I'm on a fixed income. What do I give up? What do I give up to pay that increase in utility bills? Thank you. Goodbye.
Paul Watkins from the East District.
I'm a volunteer at RAS, Rochester Animal Services. I signed up for Speak to Council to talk about the shelter in general, but I noticed there's an INT 232 spay and neutering on the A list. I don't know what it is. I have not read it. But if there's any money being considered for spay and neutering, it needs to be done now. There's still no shelter vet now, 3 months after Dr. B quit. Pets are being released unneutered, unspayed, and it's a great health concern. It just can't keep on going. So any money the council wants to go ahead and allocate for spay and neuter on an emergency basis should be done. I was also going to talk about RAS in general, because I understand this budget time. There's funds for RAS. I just wanted to note what a vital role it plays in the community and how people rely on it. As a volunteer, I see on a daily basis the impact it makes on people. People who have lost pets are reunited with them. People come with their children into the shelter to adopt dogs and cats. There's free vaccine clinics and food giveaways that allow the people who can't afford a pet to be able to have one. I would also note that in the budget, I saw there's $1.2 million for some renovations to the RAS shelter facility. This should be done, but also the work has to be done long-term, because as the council knows, by the end of December 2025, the shelter has to comply with state regulations in order to be licensed, and more money needs to be needed to do that now. So, in conclusion, RAS provides a vital service to the community. I urge the City Council to ensure that pets are spayed and neutered. We need to do that, and then also to go ahead and support them by making sure that they have funds in the budget to continue to exist. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm also speaking tonight as a volunteer at Rochester Animal Services. I'm here, first of all, to advocate for the full funding that DRHS has requested for the Verona Street shelter, which includes money for some limited shelter improvements. New kennels are on the list, and they are a must for our dogs' safety and well-being, and importantly, in order to comply with upcoming New York State requirements for animal shelter certification. In large part, in response to lobbying by volunteers, a volunteer has been appointed to the search committee for a new shelter director. The shelter could not function without the many, many volunteers who walk dogs, clean kennels, provide enrichment activities, foster cats and dogs, do laundry, assist in the clinics, bathe and groom animals, take dogs to off-site adoption events, serve as greeters, and much more. Including an experienced volunteer in the search process was a needed sign of respect for the contribution that volunteers make and the knowledge that we possess. Our volunteer coordinator, Maggie Huff, reports that we did work equivalent to 9 full-time staff positions in 2023. What other city agency relies so heavily on volunteers? RAS needs more staff. Another issue is the release of unaltered animals, and that has been mentioned a couple of times already today. It's a very, very serious matter for the city. And finally, there's another source of frustration that might not seem as urgent, but it takes a toll. And that is that it takes a very long time for even simple repairs to be completed or requests to be completed. One example is that last fall, volunteer dog walkers requested that the lights in Brown Square Park be turned on for the safety of those who are walking, and it took until this spring, when the days were longer, for the lights to be.
Is from the Northwest District. Lydia is followed by Stephanie Mintz.
Good evening. My name is Lydia Rivera. I am here on behalf of the Lyell Avenue Business Association. And I just want to start out by saying I urge City Council to approve the Children's Indoor Bill of Rights. This will complement the Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights that was passed in 2021. And investing in our children means investing in the future of Rochester. This brings me to the Lyell Avenue Street Ambassador Program. The drugs, crime, and sex trade is out of control in the Lyell Avenue area. This is why it should be imperative that the leadership and organizations in our community collaborate on planning and implementing programs like the Street Ambassador Program. LABA's issue is not about who gets funding to implement what is considered an innovative program. LABA is advocating to be included in co-creating uniquely crafted strategic plans pertaining to the Lyell Avenue region, including programs like the Street Ambassador Program. If we are going to be explicit about addressing the opiate crisis with this funding, innovative programs like this one should include transparent metrics that measure the impact, accountability, and sustainability of a program like this. And most importantly, it should also have included community input and collaboration. This is why we are requesting to have ongoing opportunities to discuss the progress of this program together as a community moving forward. Thank you, Councilmember Monroe, for creating the opportunity for us to further discuss this program. And we ask that you continue to assist in creating more opportunities to empower residents and area leaders to actively work together and make decisions together in order to make Lyell Avenue a better place. In closing, I want to uplift what Pastor Julio Cruz from Edgerton says, nothing about us without us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Mintz. I have been a police evidence technician for just about 10 years now. As police evidence technicians, we are responsible for collecting and preserving evidence in criminal cases. Our last job audit occurred in 1996. Within the last 2.5 decades, we have obtained 5 additional job duties, and 4 of our job duties have become significantly more complex. due to advances in technology and science. This results in 9 out of our 13 job duties having a drastic change. Also, out of 14 specialized training positions within our unit to include court qualified experts on latent fingerprints, SABIS manager, certified accident reconstructionists, digital forensic experts, records liaisons, and NIBIN trained technicians. 12 of those 14 spots are occupied by civilian evidence technicians. Next, I just want to read a few brief segments of letters of support from RPD police captains for a bracket increase for the civilian evidence technicians. The first one is from Captain Frank Umbrino, and he stated, "The salary of a crime scene technician is far less than that of a sworn evidence technician, yet the job is the same. The importance of this position to criminal prosecutions is paramount. Furthermore, the credibility of the Rochester Police Department is in large part judged by our ability to investigate and solve crime. In order to obtain and retain the best possible individuals to carry this burden, they must be compensated appropriately." The next segment is by Captain Adam Radins, and he stated, "The men and women of this unit are an extremely valuable asset to the police department and its mission to bring justice to the victims of our city. Over the course of the last 2.5 decades, evidence gathering and preservation, world technology, and analysis services have changed significantly. As such, our civilian technicians have always adapted to the changes and continue to be the best of the best in the nation. It is my belief that they have always answered the call and continue to set the standard in their field of expertise. We would appreciate your support for a bracket 21 increase. Thank you."
Aaron Stevens, followed by Liz Merton.
Ms. Erin Stevens. I am also an evidence technician, and I am one of the fingerprint examiners that Stephanie mentioned. One of the really unique skills and just assets that the Rochester Police Department has is that we have a fingerprint examiner within the department. And so we consistently get between 10 to 15% of the state's criminal identifications. That includes with NYPD and all of the bigger agencies. We get those big numbers with just being 2 to 3 people doing these identifications. We get everything from burglaries to robberies to assaults to homicides. And we're getting suspects and we're getting their prints from crime scenes, and we're able to take those cases to court and prosecute them based on these fingerprints at crime scenes. So it's a really important asset that we have within the department, and it's a really specialized skill that we have within the department and that I have and that a few others have. I've been with the department 17 years. I love my job. I do it because I care about the victims of crime, the people that we serve in this city, and we have to be accredited as a forensic lab according to the state of New York by 2026. So the training is only going to get more intense and more, restrictive. So we're going to need more training, and it's going to be more specialized. So what we're really asking is just to have recognition for the time and skill and care that we put into our jobs every day, and all the work that we put in, and how much we love and care for the city and the citizens of it. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Liz Marston. I've been a technician with the Rochester Police Department for almost 14 years. I just want to follow up on the previous 2 speakers regarding the technicians unit bracket increase, but specifically in regards to digital forensics, meaning just obtaining evidence from a digital source such as a surveillance video system, cell phones, computers, and using that for successfully investigating and prosecuting crimes. As I said, I've been with the unit about 14 years, so I've seen a lot of change. And when I first started, that was really hardly a part of our job at all. And then cut to the present day, we collect surveillance system close to 2,000 times a year. We do several hundred cell phone extractions a year. We do computer forensics, and it's a very time-consuming job. Through trainings, I've met investigators from all over the country, so I know it's very uncommon for cell phone and computer forensics to not be its own specialized unit, its own special lab. And we're unique in that we've absorbed those duties, and it's become part of our job in addition to everything that's traditionally been part of the technicians unit. So it's just greatly added to our duties, but also to what we can contribute to criminal investigations. And there's a lot of tasks that come along with it. It's not as simple as just extracting the data. We're expected to be experts in analyzing the data on a daily to weekly basis. We're helping the investigators in the DA's office interpret the data, put together exhibits for trial. We're helping put together trainings for other members of the unit in video collection, troubleshooting with video. So there's just a lot to it. It's a very dynamic field. It's always changing. So we have to kind of take initiative to keep up with those changes and our needs and reach out to senior members of the department and tell them what we need. And because we don't actually have a manager trained in it, so it kind of falls on the technicians to do that. So, thank you.
Zion Rivera. Zion here.
Hi, my name is Samantha Dinga, and I am here today to talk about good cause eviction protections. Good cause eviction protections make it so a landlord cannot evict a tenant without good cause, defined as a tenant violating a substantial obligation of the lease or failing to pay rent. Landlords benefit daily from the profits they bring in from their tenants, and tenants currently aren't able to be sure that even paying what they agreed to can give them safety in their homes. Every person deserves stable housing, and good cause eviction protections, rent stabilization, assessments, and passing the implementation study for a public utility are crucial steps to get us there. Recently, the City of Albany passed good cause eviction protections, and I hope that we can follow their lead and take care of Rochester. I wish that Rochester's currently proposed good cause eviction protections would cover landlords who owned fewer properties to protect a wider variety of tenants, such as myself, so that I could know that I also have that safety and stability in my own housing. In addition to these concerns, in our own backyard, I want to mention that today is 250 days since October 7th. Since then, at least 37,232 Palestinian people have been killed by Israeli attacks. We need to promote a ceasefire and adequate humanitarian aid. Thank you.
Zachary Adams. Richard Eaton. Andrea Alvear. Asa Adams. Asa's from the Northeast District.
Add my own name. All right. There's so much to say and so little time to do it all. Make it real sweet and real simple. Martin Luther King described it best. I am taking my people to a burning house. City Council, that's what you're doing. They don't know they're on fire, but I think from their words, they know something is mighty, mighty wrong. And they're pleading to you guys for help. Am I correct? And they're scared, and they don't know what to say, but they know there's a problem. That's for one damn thing. I mean, my cats know when to come in the house when it's raining. But right now, it's raining on us, and we don't know what to do. And we're depending on you guys to build us the shelter, the roof, the food, the roads, everything that's needed for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Right now, I think a lot of us feel like our 14th Amendments are being violated. I mean, you guys probably are not aware you're doing it, but things do happen by accident. Get this right, please, because I'm willing to help you guys and I'm willing to jump on board. But we got to get the right tools, the right people, the right way.
Y'all probably getting tired of me too. Hey, I'm gonna keep on coming until we get it right. And the day you know you did it right, you won't see me anymore. This is what we're here for. The council members represent all of the citizens of Rochester. 9 people represent 200,000 plus people. They inform, protect, and represent our way of life. With the reassessments, it's been a division, and we need you all to work together for the people of Rochester and to protect their most valuable assets, which is their homes. For the people that don't own homes, they live in a house that somebody else owns, and when they are affected by the assessments, the people that live in that house will be affected also. It all runs downhill, right? Here's my questions. If they did it right the first time, how could they have a change of heart later? If 2 + 2 = 4 for them, and you say, no, it doesn't, how can they say, okay, it equals 3 later? If they did it right, they wouldn't have to change it later with hearings, right? No one knows your home better than you, so how could they tell you? And your home is only worth something if you sell it. Everybody needs their houses. They're not trying to sell it, so tell them it's $1 million, but they don't have $1 million until they sell it, okay? The process was flawed, and I hope that you adopt the revisions, the 12-point plan, the 11-point plan, and the people who fought and lost, thank you. The people who accepted, wait a couple of years, you're gonna see you should have fought.
Followed by Amy Hampton.
Hi, I want to talk on a couple of things, the assessment and how that's going to hurt our community. The thing with the assessment, I learned from the budget hearing that was done, that it gives, even though they have a levy, a flat fee, they can raise it at any time. So homeowners in this community will be facing it, maybe not this time around, but it will happen. So you need to reevaluate what you're doing to our community. The other thing I want to talk about is, I want to thank you for rent stabilization and good cause. But around good cause, you should look at the units rather than the landlords, because a lot of landlords will change their LLCs to make it look smaller when it is not. So I'm hoping that you would follow Albany's method out, how they did that. The other thing is the feasibility study. We need to do that. We need to make that happen for our community. Many people are struggling. You see a lot of house fires that happen in the community because people are trying to heat their homes in different ways. And so some people lose their lives in that process. RG&E is a company that is not in Rochester. If we had our own utilities company, we could hire people and the money stays in the community. It doesn't go to another country. The money stays in the community, it gives people jobs, it gives people opportunity, and the funds that come in through the through the federal programs like HEAP, those funds stay in our community. So this is a different alternative to help the community rather than, okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Amy Hampton Pattyfoot. I'm here to ask for y'all not to pass the budget on the reassessment. It's only because it wasn't transparent and it has many flaws, and it was based on lies. Like I've said several times I come up here, I mean, you can't tell me you base my assessment of my home on these 5 homes, and then at the telephone meeting, and then when I come to the court or the hearing, in-person hearing, and you tell me, oh, we base your house on these 5 homes on your street. Which one is it? It's 10 homes that you did the assessment on to get the quote for my assessment of my home, but which one is it? If you can't say it's the first 5 that you told me on the phone and then change it, so where's the transparency? What is the real deal? How did you really get our assessment? And then you do these assessment, you claim you did the assessment, but it just make everybody in the city untrustworthy of what y'all are actually doing to us. You know, you're saying that it won't go up, your taxes won't go up. Like I was saying from the beginning, soon as my home insurance went up $300, and they said it was based on the assessment of my home. And what did the city tell me? Oh no, they can't tell you that because it's not finalized yet. So what I think is that maybe it's Zillow. Is everybody getting their numbers from Zillow and using it against us and saying, hey, if Zillow say this, then that's what your house is assessed at, and this is what we're gonna use. So the home insurance and the city use the same numbers. Thank you.
Zoe here? Zoe?
That's a correction. I'm from the city of Rochester. I don't know why it says it's on the gates, but anyways. Well, congratulations, City Council. Something I've advocated for the past 6 years. Finally, you guys have decided to join together. All 9 of you, thank you for signing on a good cause eviction, which would have saved a lot of tenants last year, but new year, right? So now let's not have too much conversation. Let's plan this. Let's make this happen. However, though, there's a lot of tenants that are not going to benefit from it. Comments have said the city of Albany, the city of Ithaca, and make something happen for the constituents that you are elected. You have to serve your renters. Also, I'm in support of pausing the study they're talking about for these reassessments. That's only going to drive people back out of Rochester. Isn't it your job to bring people into Rochester and keep us here, not push us out? You know, I'm still learning a lot of stuff. 45 years old, but still learning. Also, I'm in support of the RED campaign. If Fairport can have their own public utility, why can't Rochester? Make it make sense. Reach your heart, the heart that you was born with. Think of your constituents, as I said before. Think of these students, President Miguel Melendez, that you're elected to serve. They're facing homelessness. This is something that I know City Council has the power to do. You got the legislation in front of you, pass it into law. Fully mandate these slumlords to report their not hide behind an LLC. I can't hide behind my children if I tell a lie, so why can a landlord or a slumlord hide behind an LLC? Is that fair? Is that what you guys want to see done in this city? You know, tonight I'm trying a different approach with you. Instead of yelling, raising my blood pressure, getting sick, it's not worth it. Have a great night.
not fighting for the people. There's no way that your head should be so far up or down in the sand that you should not hear the cries of the people, that they're paying too much for their rent, their housing, and you're not doing your due diligence to find out why it's wrong. And if you are for the people and elected by the people, be for the people. The administration and the assessors. It's time for y'all to do your job for the people.
Hello, Rochester City Council. I wrote a letter asking that you address the live stream quality so that we can live stream these meetings so that we can include everybody. We heard tonight from Clay Harris, Dwight Robinson. We're going to hear from Marvin Taylor and Asa Adams and so many amazing people tonight, and we need that groundswell of support to get more people in here, to get more people involved. I'm responding tonight to the RCSD joint session. The City Hall is getting a budget, the RCSD is getting a budget, and it's a practically unlimited budget. And what are they doing with it? Today, the chief financial officer resigned at the RCSD. Come on, what are we doing with all this? These people should have the top of the line gold standard schools for $1 billion annually. And you're over here, you're playing both sides of the fence with the kissing the mayor's jackass. Sorry, that was an outburst. Kissing the mayor's ass and just acting like total jackasses. And I think these people here are tired of them all sitting on the fence. They're tired of Cynthia Elliott. They're tired of Beatrice LeBron and Amy Malloy and James Patterson and Camille Simmons and Jackie Griffin and Isaiah Santiago and all these people on the board. Is my microphone still on? They're really tired of all of this. How is your school district? How many superintendents do you have? We talked about this last time. How many superintendents do you have in the City of Rochester, and how many superintendents for the schools does the suburbs have? Dozens. You just have one. You just have one terrible superintendent who left. You have one president board, and Monroe County gets dozens and dozens of election seats that people can be voted upon, committees, mayors. We got to start annexing districts from the City of Rochester. They should be dismantled, disparaged, disintegrated. What are some other words that we can throw in there? Disassociated. These people need to stop sitting on the fence, need to listen to these people. It's insane. This local administration is being us. I blame all of you for sitting here tonight, letting this happen, being so passive. It's your fault. It's their fault. It's the people on the board's fault. But looking in the mirror tonight, I want you to say to yourself in the mirror.
Good evening, City Council. I appreciate you guys' time. My name is Mike Rivera. I'm the president of Local 1635. We represent all the non-uniform city employees. I represent over 1,200 members. For the last 2 years, tirelessly trying to work with the city leadership to secure raises for our civilian evidence technicians. Our evidence technicians will spend between 8 to 17 hours at a crime scene, take 250 to 700 photos, collect fingerprints, DNA, blood trace fibers, shoe prints, surveillance videos, tire impression, firearm ballistics, evidence in vehicles and forensics and more. When 2 U of our students were kidnapped and brutalized for days, it was our forensic experts who collected all the evidence and testified in court that helped bring justice to these victims. One evidence technician position has gone unfilled for over 415 days due to the salary limitations. Our community cannot afford more forensic staff. Our community victims and their families deserve justice and resolution. We are asking for your support to bring parity to these tireless, brave city staff. Please implement an increase from the proposed bracket 17 to a bracket 21. I appreciate you guys' time. Thanks.
From the town of Brighton.
Hello, as I said, Maria Fisher. Thank you for your time. I just want to read a part of a letter. Tonight I met with the Rochester Labor Council, a body comprised of public and private sector unions that represent over 60,000 members in the Monroe County area. They want you to know that they stand with their brothers and sisters in Ask 1635. We support 1635's request for a pay increase to a bracket 21 for the City of Rochester civilian police evidence technicians. Police evidence technicians deserve a salary adjustment that will be appropriately aligned with the training and education job. They ended with, as members living in this community, we want to see justice and resolution for victims and their families. We are asking for your support to bring pay parity to these fearless, brave city staff. Members of the council will be receiving a letter from the city council as well as Mayor Evans. Thank you.
Barbara McMinn.
Mayor's just announced a new tool to look up your tax amounts. Some people will have to pay. Some people will be getting good news and some people will be getting terrible news about how much their taxes have gone up. Landlords will have to pay increases to their tenants when the rents are already very high and many people are already struggling. The city also wants to encourage home ownership. This reassessment and the higher prices of homes will not help that to buy homes due to high prices. If you want to support the concept of generational wealth, people need to be able to keep their homes that they have worked so hard to buy. This reassessment reminds me of a term used in politics years ago, fuzzy math. I still do not have a clear picture of how they arrived at these new assessments and how they can use the term appraisal if they are not licensed appraisers. When we started this process to question and learn more about this reassessment, I felt we had a lot of support from members of City Council. If any of you sitting on the City Council are swayed by threats and intimidation, I feel you are in the wrong job. Stand up for what's right. Stand up for the people. Stand up.
There's a tool for estimating taxes. Why not the real cost? Mayor was talking about affordable housing, but it's rentals. But the low-income families are losing their homes because of high taxes. The mayor is so arrogant, he won't face any questions about the reassessment. Or yes men to the mayors, but the residents of the city of Rochester vote in and out these positions. The assessor's office has free rein to do as the mayor wants with no accountability. I'm wondering if the assessor's office has a dartboard there, throwing the dartboard, see, well, we're going to raise that house 10%, we're going to raise that one 20%. It's time to get this under control. Have a good day.
Hi, let me get this going. Hi, Alan Blair from Park Avenue neighborhood here. Today I'm going to call out some RG&E lies. Line number one is the name. Control of what they're calling RG&E really comes from Avangrid's corporate offices in Connecticut. Avangrid keeps the RGE name to make it seem local. But Avangrid is also spreading lies about its Rochester branch. Lie number 2, because government is inefficient and unreliable, a public utility will also be inefficient and unreliable. Please note they're calling you guys screw-ups. The truth is that the vast majority of public utilities across the country are very reliable and competently run. There's no evidence to suggest Rochester would be an exception. Line number 3, the city would lose its tax base if RGE goes public. Not true. A publicly owned utility is more invested in its community than an out-of-state corporation. With lots of money available that would otherwise go to profits for outside investors, it won't be hard for our public utility to cover our tax base. Line number 4, transfer to a public utility will mean loss of jobs. The people who write this nonsense will probably lose their jobs, but aside from top management, Avangrid's local job structure will be kept intact. In fact, Rochester will gain jobs because positions now outsourced to cheap labor will be brought back into our community as good union jobs. Line number 5, buying out RG&E will stick Rochester with a big debt. No. A low-interest bond available to nonprofits will cover the cost. As I said, a publicly owned utility's primary loyalty will be to the community, not stockholders. It won't make profits. Any revenue past operating costs will go directly into increasing salaries, lowering rates, and improving service. That's millions of dollars staying in Rochester that right now are heading straight to the wallets of Avangrid shareholders. Fully fund the feasibility study and give that shot in the arm to both Rochester's economy and its people.
President Melendez and members of council, my name is Peter Peters. I am the co-chair of REACH's advocacy team. Tonight I want to speak about the need for 7/24 access to well-lighted, clean, public bathroom facilities. Next month I turn 85, and I am noticing that my plumbing is radically changing. My body does not allow a lot of time to get to places of relief. This can be incredibly embarrassing and tough, but it has me thinking about the general meme of our city's efforts to become a place that is hospitable to all. When I have traveled in other cities around the world, I have become impressed with those cities that have made the effort to put in place public facilities for the convenience of their visitors. So I asked myself, if others can do this, why cannot my city do it as well? Here we are on the cusp of wanting to make our central city region more welcoming to pedestrian traffic, including late-night events, and the one only city public bathroom closes its doors at 6 p.m. I tried out 2 apps to locate bathroom facilities in downtown and found that all were in buildings catering to clientele and not for someone walking our streets. As most of you know, I work with men and women experiencing homelessness. Why can't we offer a place to clean up and take care of basic needs for these neighbors? You may fear that such places become easily abused, but not if they're well managed and may in fact save public cost in the long run by providing such essential services with some creative thinking. They could offer connections to other needed supportive services. At least, let's study this together.
Evening, City Council. As one of the co-chairs of the Rochester chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America, I am delivering the following statement on behalf of our chapter, which is part of the Rochester for Energy Democracy Coalition. For too long, the residents of this city have had their electricity controlled by a handful of capitalists whose priority is not to supply folks with power, but to reap profits off the back of ratepayers. I'm of course talking about RG&E, their parent company Avangrid, and their parent company Iberdrola, which is all the way in Spain. That means your constituents' heat, appliances, medical devices, and other items necessary for survival being controlled by people whose number one priority is accumulating profit. We must take the power back from the capitalists by removing the profit motive and putting control back in the hands of our community. Public power also means lower electric bills, access to lower interest rates, more local union jobs, and a just transition to green energy. As socialists, we believe in people having democratic input in all aspects of their life, and that includes their access to electricity. 3 months ago, the Monroe County Legislature showed that these goals are not a priority for them. They're more concerned with listening to RG&E's corporate lobbyists, while the ratepayers and the climate cannot wait for the county to get together. This is where City Council comes in. We're calling on you to fully fund and commission an implementation study to replace RG&E with a public utility, giving us the facts on both a county and citywide level. Step up where the county legislature has failed us and show the people of Rochester, who have been calling for a public utility for years, that you truly represent them.
From the Northwest District.
I'm the mouthpiece for the neighborhood and the community that I live in, and probably a lot more residents and friends in the city. What you allow to continue will continue. If you ask 10 people where they would like to live, 8 out of 10 choose Greece, Gates, Rondequoit, Penfield, Fairport, Pittsford, or Webster. Why? Because they don't feel safe in Rochester. Rochester is not a safe place to live. I would like to tell you what living on any street in Rochester is today. It's dangerous. Our neighborhoods are dangerous. It's dangerous because people don't respect other people. Drivers don't respect other people. Our drivers are out of control. I'm a professional driver. These drivers are out of control because we don't enforce the laws that are currently on our books to protect us. And why don't we? We're asking you why. What you allow will continue. We observe speeding, running red lights, stop signs, crossing double yellow lines to pass, passing in a blind spot in a bike lane or parking lane. We observe parking in bike lanes, parking in no parking zones, double parking, especially around the schools. Vehicles parked facing the wrong way, blocking sidewalks, blocking driveways, parking too close to a corner, blocking pedestrian view. Tinted windows, one license plate, no stickers, out-of-date stickers, excessive loud music, tint mufflers. Have I forgotten anything? Trying to keep a good tenant has been nearly impossible for me. If you and our mayor don't solve these issues soon, I already feel sorry for you and your families when you get to be my age. Bad driving and bad overall behavior are totally unacceptable. I'm here to tell you once again, we've had enough. I won't tell you how to fix these issues, that's your job, but you must make your best attempt at it. Thank you.
Mike Johnson. He's from the Northeast District, and he's followed by Valencia Starling.
Oh, yeah, my name is Mike Johnson, and I represent Save Rochester, shameless plug, at Save Rochester on Instagram, follow us. Okay, I'm here today because Martin Luther King said, whenever you take a stand for truth and justice, you are liable to scorn. And what have I seen over the years since 2020 when we had our protests and shut down 490 because of the death of Daniel Prude? Scorn, ridicule. There are people who have displayed death threats that law enforcement did absolutely nothing about, and we've been relentless about fighting for truth and for justice. I want to thank people, I'm not here to admonish all of the city council. That's not why I'm here. In fact, council members like Michael Patterson has joined Save Rochester in our virtual town halls to justice in our community. Council members like Willie Lightfoot has picked up a phone call, sent emails about our concerns. Mary Lupien has also done the same and made herself readily available for the work that we do in the community. Every single week, we drop off fresh organic produce to food deserts in our city. Do we get much help from the city? Well, I'll let you think about that. I'm here today because there was yet another instance of police brutality in Rochester. And speaking truth to power, speaking about justice is always liable to scorn. But I'm here today to support Marvin Taylor, who at the hands of the police suffered abuse. He was lost. He was left 2 to 3 weeks off of work simply because police refused to tell him why he was being pulled over. And I know many of you say, well, law enforcement is out of control. But as black and brown citizens in this nation, we face it on a far more disastrous and murderous basis than a lot of you may realize. That's my time, I think.
Reverend Myra Brown. Oh, Valencia? Okay. Valencia from the Northeast District.
Council, on June 3rd, my son was attacked by police officers. I'm here today because I need your assistance. I need your help. I'm crying out not only for myself, but for my who also had the same situation. All we have is standing for us. And, you know, we get the run around, we get the call this one, call that one, this one, that one. We need you guys. We need you to be our ears, to be the ears, to speak for us. We need you to advocate and help let these police officers be held accountable for their actions. Look into it. Lead by example.
District, followed by David Langley.
Good evening. I'm Reverend Myra Brown, and I'm here to urge you to support a public utility feasibility study so that we can have a public utility and affordable energy in our community. We need you as elected officials to stand up for our city and for our residents. It is my understanding that you've already set aside funds that expire this June for a study. I would ask you to reallocate those funds so that it happens at our city level and that the result, we know that in other cities, has been significant in the cost savings for residents. RG&E has made energy unaffordable in our community, and we need a public utility to correct it. When residents are spending 6 to 25% of their income on RG&E, what we're doing is not working. If they're making $107 million in profits and still asking and receiving rate increases, what we're doing is not working. If state regulators are failing to hold accountable and have earmarked them to receive delivery rates that will go up 24% in the next 3 years, what we are doing is not working. I work most days from 9 to 9, arriving home not more than 2 to 3 hours of awake time, but my bill never reflects that. The bill increasingly rises. It sometimes feels like they have that little lotto bowl, you know, and whatever number pops up, then that's what they charge you. I have watched my bill fluctuate from $350 to $500 to $900, back down to $600, then $700, $500, $1,000, and then $350. The point is that the amounts are all over the place. While I spend the same amount of time, 3 hours in my home at night before going to bed and turning off lights and TVs. I've called them several times regarding the overestimations, and when I called to complain and tried to compare my bills online, I was prevented. They went to a new system. They said, well, you can't look at your past bills online unless restaurant auto pay. A public utility feasibility study is what we need for transparency and affordability. So that residents aren't choosing between food and food on their tables. So I urge you to use that power to serve those who elect you, and I believe that you ran because you want to serve.
Hello, council members. David Langley from Rochester Animal Services. I'd like to cede my time, if possible, to my colleague Lisa Tidings, who is supposed to go before me, so that she can.
You can't cede time.
Okay, well, this will be definitely short. I'm here mostly to support my colleague Lisa Tidings, who's going to talk to you folks. But I just wanted to thank you folks so much for working to support City of Rochester Animal Services, and I hope you will continue to work with the city to help us more. Thank you very much.
Elizabeth Asta from the East District, followed by Malcolm Kim.
So I come from the First Universalist Church, where our mission is to nurture the spirit and serve the community. And with that, each of you toilet tissue. Imagine, if you will, it won't be hard tonight, a time when you needed to use a toilet urgently. Imagine you couldn't find one. This human dilemma is one many are familiar with. It's an uncomfortable position to be in, and as Reverend Peter said so well, embarrassing. Luckily, we often spend time in buildings, offices, churches, schools, homes, and civic buildings where toilets are available, clean, and public. What we know about our fellow citizens who are currently houseless is this urgency dilemma happens often, and solutions are not always compatible with the downtown we like to boast about. Area churches, our First Universalist Church, and on Clinton Court, St. Mary's at Washington Square, and many others, find remnants of this dilemma in the gardens and on the grounds of other churches in the community. Compound being homeless or houseless with the indignity of being unable to find a public toilet. The complexity of those who are working and do not have housing is overwhelming. Many of us join weekly in outreach efforts working with the homeless outreach team, comprised of comprehensive social service groups, bringing compassion in the way of clothing, human connection, snacks, hope on a regular basis. What we would like to bring is a guarantee of adequate 24/7 public restrooms that keep Rochesterians sharing in a dignified deterrent to public defecation.
Malcolm Kim.
Hello, my name is Malcolm Kim. I'm on the board of the Rochester chapter of the National Lawyers Guild. The Guild is the nation's oldest and largest progressive bar association. Our mission is to use law for the people and to unite lawyers, law students, legal workers, jailhouse lawyers, and others in that aim. We recognize the need for structural changes to advance racial, economic, and environmental justice. And so we endorse the proposal to replace RG&E with a public utility that is affordable, community-owned, democratic, and sustainable. The Monroe County Legislature has declined to investigate this possibility, but the city still can and should. Indeed, most of the public utility transformations underway across the country are happening at the city level. Essential services such as heat and electricity should be administered democratically with the primary aim of ensuring our community has its basic needs met. And it should not be a way for corporations to extract more profit from our communities. We need an accountable and public utility. So we request that the council fund and commission the implementation study we've been discussing to provide a roadmap for how to create and run a public utility that aligns with our values. And we ask that the community representation, expertise, and oversight via an advisory committee. I'll see the rest of my time. Thank you.
Dr. Michelle Williams. District, followed by Marvin Taylor.
Justice. I think you're all aware that its mismanagement and drive for profit by the second largest utility company in the world is a major driver of poverty in our city for city residents and a huge source of anxiety for people and housing instability as well. With the county passing the buck for the moment, it is the responsibility of the city to act for its residents who are still facing an onslaught of overbilling, outrageous overbilling, misbilling, and rate hikes that never stop. That is the process that's outlined by state law for a locally led study and a local referendum, so our residents can look at the facts and choose what's best for them and our local economy. An additional key advantage of a public utility would be the ability to have a real renewable transition at a neighborhood scale, not an individual scale, designed for the lowest costs and most savings for all. Most public transitions, as we've heard, happen at a city level. Recent studies in San Diego, Decorah, Pueblo, Long Island, Maine, and Winter Park all found that public utilities would result in significant cost savings, even after factoring in the cost of purchasing the grid through our rates over time. Metro Justice has done a huge amount of research into questions that a study should ask, and what community stakeholders and experts could help inform and guide the city's efforts with an expert advisory committee. The city can choose to lead by fully funding a public utility study, and your constituents are calling on you to do so. We don't need to be saved by anyone. We are asking as a minimum next step to reallocate the $500,000 you already allocated last year without conditions on how that can be used and commit to a city-led study. We hope you can do this independently or through a budget amendment next Tuesday. You have the power and ability to act. Use it to get the answers for the people. We also support good cause eviction protections with a 1-unit limit and rent stabilization. Thank you so much.
Marvin Taylor is of the Northeast District, followed by Jason Terran.
Evening, everyone. My name is Marvin Taylor. I am here to shine light on police brutality in situations where police use excessive force. On May 7th, I was pulled out of my car and abused by police for a traffic stop. Each officer walked on opposite sides of my car, and the one closest to me had his hand while approaching my car. During this incident, I was never told why I was pulled over, even after repeatedly asking, nor did the officers ask for my license and registrations. They just demanded I get out of the car. After this incident, I did some research on the officers that were at my traffic stop, and I learned that Officer Edwards, badge number 2555, had a prior incident in 2019 where 3 other officers were called to the scene for a fight between 8th graders. Edwards and other officers approached the school bus aggressively with mace and forced to the ground and arrested both the child victim and the adult attempting to pick up the child. Prior to the arrival, Edwards was informed by the bus driver that the child that was coming off of the bus had nothing to do with the incident they called for. Yet, Edwards and his fellow officers ignored the driver and proceeded with their actions. This situation from 2019 is still undergoing mediation and has no disciplinary actions assigned. These are just 2 situations that have happened, and I believe it is due to the lack of training. Officers should not feel threatened by an 8th grader or tinted windows. It's also due to them not being held accountable for their actions. Officers are meant to protect and serve. Instead, it feels like they are meant for us to fear. And I feel like my situation, if you compare mine to the DA, Sandra, it's two totally different scenarios. She was allowed to exit her vehicle, enter her home. They did not break her window or harm her with any physical or recognize her.
Hello, council members. My name is Jason Terragino. I'm with the Civilian Tech Unit. I've been a city employee for years. I started my career at 911, worked there for 8 years. I really wanted to do more for my community, and I found out about the Civilian Technician Unit. I really found purpose in this job. We respond to major incidents around the city that are tragic and heartbreaking. Everything that we do, we find purpose in helping the victims and helping the victims' families. We want to try every day to help them and find some kind of justice that they deserve. We work diligently, like you've heard from all my other civilian technicians. We work hard, we train hard. I've just spent 5 weeks in Alabama doing computer forensics. Liz Marsden has done over 500 hours of training to specialize in her field. We are more focused on our job because I am a civilian technician now. In 30 years from now, I will still be a civilian technician. I don't have a promotion, I don't have transfers, I don't have anything else other than being a civilian technician. So I focus on my job. The officers, they have chances to move, other opportunities. So we're just looking for what's fair to be in our position. We work with them hand in hand every day, and we thank you for standing up with us to hopefully get us to this bracket 21. Thank you.
Nikita?
I'm not a threat. My name is Nikita Breelove. I am not a threat. I am tired of police misconduct. I am a victim of Officer Wright stealing my necklace off my neck in 2007. I am not a threat. I am a business owner also. I am not a threat. I can call the police officers to clean up the drugs and the needles in front of my mom's house. I can call 911 when I see two people shoot somebody and be a victim in a courtroom and put somebody away. I'm not a threat, but I can run my business and get shot at, and I'm put them away for 12 years. I am not a threat, but it's all right to be threatened from jail that my head will be blown off. DA office don't tell you when you put away people, do they? I am not a threat. I'm tired. I am voicing myself now. What the officer did to misconduct me, God punished him. He could never see the necklace he stole from me. I'm not a threat. I'm here now, and I will be coming back. I will be coming back and coming back. Officers need to be held accountable. Right. The tax man stole over $10,000 of mine. I had officers tell me I'm cop chasing. How am I cop chasing when the IRS told me to get a police report? Something needs to be done. Thank you. Nikita Breed, not a threat.
China Jackson? Christina Danino? From the town of Pittsburgh?
Evening, council members. My name is Christina Danino, and I own 2 businesses in the city of Rochester. I spoke recently to council last time about an ongoing saga I've been having with RG&E and billing errors, as I received a $23,000 bill for one business and an $11,000 bill most recently for even after the smart meter for the second business. I want to share with you the most recent saga I've been going through over the last 2 weeks since our last meeting. Mary and Mitch were nice enough to reach out to me and offer possible solutions. Thank you for that. Mary mentioned a direct line for RG&E, which I'm assuming is the escalation line, which I have called. That rings to a voicemail, and a representative is supposed to get back to you. I have left multiple messages. No one has gotten back to me. Mitch was nice enough to introduce me to via email to community and government specialist with RG&E. They immediately passed the torch and passed me on to another representative within their department. That representative was supposed to call me, never did. I called them out on it and sent them an email and copied everybody in. All of a sudden, I was reassigned to somebody else. Third person. That third person was a customer service representative, which they assured me was the right person I was supposed to be speaking to. Fine. This is just a perfect example, though, of how this company operates. There is no accountability. None. After sharing my story for the 108th time, as it felt, with this new representative, RG&E, with the representative from RG&E, she said she needed to do some investigation and would call me back. She did that today. Today we spent 45 minutes on the phone where she read to me my bills verbatim as if I didn't know how to read or understand them, which she then, when I asked the questions, why was I billed this $11,000? She was unable to answer and was advised me to call back. Bottom line, we need the study. Please fund it. Mayor Evans' newest initiative for home ownership in the city, this would assist with that. This money would be going back to the community. Thank you.
I'm John Keevert, co-chair of the Environmental Justice Ministry at First Unitarian Church. We are members of Rochester Area Interfaith Climate Action, and together we ask you to go ahead alone with a study to explore the feasibility and procedures for moving RG&E to a public utility. The Republicans in the county legislature and perhaps a couple Democrats were spouting the mistaken belief that the free market is always more efficient than a government-run operation. And it's true that a free market for breakfast cereal efficiently provides a much wider variety of choices, but that is not what we're dealing with here. Energy utilities in New York State are regulated monopolies. There is one distribution system of wires and pipes and no competition. I argue that lacking competition, there's no obvious reason for a private company to be more efficient than a public-owned one. The question then is, do we want a private company whose priority is maximizing profit for its foreign owners, or do we want a public utility that is responsible for the community it is in? Many communities have already gone the public utility route, and they find that public utilities are between 13% and 63% cheaper than investor-owned utilities, while being twice as reliable. I anticipate the study we asked for would show that, and RG&E must think it so also because they are spending big money for greenwashing TV ads. Perhaps you agree that a public utility would be cheaper, but you're wondering if Metro Justice can really run a complex utility. Of course not. We anticipate the proposed study will recommend a governing board of elected community members, labor, and technical people, including some current staff. We just won't have overpaid CEOs and profits going overseas. To me, the study offers a low-risk, tantalizing opportunity to give your constituents lower rates, better service, and no midwinter shutoffs. I ask you to find the courage to do it. Thank you.
Buenas noches.
Good evening.
Dos cosas que voy a hablar.
Two things that I want to speak about.
Sobre el problema de la electricidad.
Over the public utility
Que
issues.
fui a pagar $39, me envían una carta,
He received a
$39,
letter to pay $39,
el 29 de mayo.
the 29th of May.
Cuando fui a pagar,
When he went to pay,
me dice la chica que son $417.77 porque hay un problema con la computadora. No
he
eran
said that the young
$39.
lady, when he went to pay the $39, told him that the bill was over $430 because there was an issue with the computer system.
Otra cosa que quiero hablarle,
The other thing I want to speak
cuando yo
about,
vine aquí, hay muchas banderas ahí.
he said that there were,
Pregunté qué pasa con esas banderas. Me dicen que esos son los países que están en el Mar Caribe.
He says he asked about the flags that
Y
read
yo
the
vi la
State of
bandera de
the
Puerto
Nation.
Rico.
He asked what these
Y yo
flags
digo,
were
Puerto
about.
Rico
They
no es
told
un
him that it was
país.
about the
Puerto
Caribbean
Rico no es
heritage.
un país. Yo no tengo un pasaporte de Puerto Rico.
He says that Puerto Rico is not a
Puerto
country.
Rico tiene
Puerto
que
Rico
quitar esa
is-
bandera.
Puerto Rico should be removed from
Está,
there.
sí, en el Mar Caribe,
Because
pero no es
just
un
because it's
país
in the
como me
Caribbean doesn't
dijeron
mean that it's a
que es un
country.
país. Y eso es un insulto
And
a
he says that
todos
that's an insult to all Puerto Ricans.
puertorriqueños que se hacen pasar por ciudadanos americanos o para ustedes también.
And that is also an insult to you.
Quiten esa
and
bandera,
all
remuévela,
Puerto
porque
Ricans,
es un insulto.
Because it's an insult to all of them.
Puerto Rico no es una república. No, no
Puerto
debe
Rico is not a
estar
republic.
categorizado como un país
not
como
categorized
libre,
as a
como
country
Cuba, Santo Domingo,
like
Belice
Cuba,
y los demás
like
países que
Santo
están ahí
Domingo
puestos.
and all other Caribbean
Quiten esa
islands.
bandera, por
So
favor.
please remove the flag.
John Casper. He's from the town of Arundel.
Good evening. My name is John Kastner. I serve on the board of the Rochester Regional Sierra Club. I have come before you once again to state our wholehearted support for a public power utility feasibility study. Beyond the worthy issues of justice, fairness, economy, and accountability lies the critical issue of reducing carbon emissions and mitigating the effects of climate change. Last year, ongoing disasters greatly enhanced by climate change caused $16 billion worth of damage across the United States. In the last 10 years, the figure worldwide stands at $38 trillion. New York State is not immune. Since Hurricane Sandy, central New York has suffered several catastrophic floods, and diminished rainfalls have impacted local agriculture. As temperatures rise, we can anticipate brownouts due to increased energy demands from air conditioning during heat waves. If you think preparing for climate change is expensive, imagine the bill for repairing damage to critical infrastructure, the bill for health care, for health-related issues from heat, loss of income, and damage to housing, etc. Public power utilities would provide a major boost to bringing renewable energy online in New York, helping the state reach its designated carbon reduction goals. Climate change is already an emergency, but we can still prevent it from becoming a disaster. Please, for all of our futures, fund the study completely.
He's from the town of Greece.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Takara Reyes. I am from the town of Greece. However, I'm a former resident of the City of Rochester. I represent 1199 and Local 200, and I'm also a volunteer for Metro Justice. And I'm here to elaborate on the RG&E. We know RG&E is a big business. We know RG&E is very greedy. We need to do this study. We need your funding. We need your leadership. We asking you to take part in this funding. As a city resident, and my mother lived there, it's disappointing that they're still here, RG&E. You have the city of residents have poverty, the RG&E doesn't help them. They doesn't care, and they have outrageous prices. We need to step up and be dedicated and fund this study. I'm asking you, and we are relying on you. We gave you a chance to be city council. Give us a chance and do the right thing.
That's right. Michael Irving from the town of Arundel.
Thank you, council members, for having me speak here tonight. I appreciate your time. My name's Michael Irving. I am the CSEA Local 828 president, which represents all of Monroe County, nearly 4,000 members, and a handful in the city of Rochester. I'm here helping out and supporting the AFSCME Local Council 66 in their fight to get some relief at the Rochester Animal Shelter in Verona. I'm also here to support Lisa Tidings, my sister-in-law, who is one of the licensed vet techs at the animal shelter. Numerous horror stories that I've heard from her throughout the years of the understaffing, of the conditions that her and her staff work through on a daily basis is alarming for me. I would hate to know that not only my sister-in-law is under this immense pressure, but also a pet, which I would also consider a family member, would have to live through those conditions as well. I do believe that volunteer work, there is a place for it, but I don't believe that volunteers should be taking on the responsibilities of what should be full-time employees. I also believe that increasing the salaries for permanent employees who have been working there already is not only going to improve their work production, but also their quality of life, which I hope we all strive for. I always tell my members that we work to live, we do not live to work. Thank you for your time tonight. I appreciate it.
Lisa is from the town of Rochester.
Hello, Council. I'm Lisa Tidings. I'm one of RAS's licensed veterinary technicians. Fellow LVT Allison Forbes and I currently make up the shelter's full-time medical team. This is not the first time that we have found ourselves in this position. Even with a full-time vet, we are barely keeping our heads above water with the number of animals that we are medically responsible for. I think it's important to mention here that Allison and I are not nearly compensated enough for the amount of work we do, the level of responsibility that we have, and the substantial knowledge, experience, and skills that we possess. But being short-staffed defines RAS. In fact, there are anywhere from 2 to no more than 8 staff members responsible for the physical care of the shelter's animals every single day. So in a shelter that is often over capacity, there are never more than 8 of us providing the necessary routine care for over 100 animals. RAS's current personnel capacity to provide humane animal care is unacceptable. I believe that if our volunteers were to quit tomorrow, the shelter would be completely inoperable and the doors would have to close. Expecting a small number of staff to take on this workload with the constant time constraints are factors that must be considered when wondering why outbreaks happen and animal lives are lost. But I really want to thank those of you that I've seen come to visit the shelter. I want to thank those who presented the mayor with really difficult questions and concerns at the hearing on May 30th. I want to thank the president and the vice president for meeting with our former vet, Dr. Breakris, about the challenges that we face and the changes that we so desperately need. If you visited the shelter, you've witnessed the work that we do. It is hard, it is dirty, it is heartbreaking, and it is hazardous. It is not just a 9 to 5. We do not leave it at the door when we go home. We take these physical, mental, and emotional burdens home with us, and they are felt by our families, they're felt by our children, they're felt by our loved ones. So I'm here today to respectfully ask that as you go into this vote, please vote to support the employees so that we can care better for the animals in the community that we serve. Thank you.
All right, that concludes our speaker list for tonight. I would like to thank everyone for your time and attendance, and we will have our regular council meeting on Tuesday, June 18th at 6 p.m. here in these chambers. Have a good night, everyone.
How's it going? You're on.
Pretty well, our camera died.
I heard, yeah.
We're still broadcasting right now, so it's weird.
You started off.
Yeah.